So in my last YouTube video, I shared how I generated a six-figure investment portfolio in less than 2 years. But what I didn't tell you was what I actually invest in and how I actually invest. After getting a lot of questions from you guys on my Instagram, I decided to reveal my six-figure stock investment strategy to you guys today. In this video, you'll learn the 3 main stock investment strategies, and you'll learn which strategy is the best one for you to start implementing today. So before we talk about the 3 main investing strategies, what you have to know first is that investing is a skill. Just like swimming, you can either be a beginner, intermediate, or an expert. If you're a beginner swimmer and you go into a pool, you probably won't be able to swim laps, you'll just be splashing around. But if you're an expert swimmer, if you go to a pool, you'll be able to swim laps nonstop. And investing is the exact same way. When you're a beginner investor, you don't know how to invest your money, and you will likely lose money. But if you become an expert at investing, if you spend time and energy to cultivate the skill, then when you invest your money, you'll be able to make lots of money. And that's the reason why there are 3 main investing strategies, because each of these strategies require a different skill level in order to implement. Some strategies are easier than others. And so if you want to be able to make money when it comes to investing, you have to choose a strategy that is best suited for your current skill level when it comes to investing. And so that being said, the first investing strategy is called passive investing. And so when most people think about investing in stocks, they think about investing in individual stocks. But the problem with this is that if you put all of your money into one company and that company goes bankrupt, then you lose all of your money. And so what passive investing is that you're investing in the entire stock market. For example, in the US, there's a stock market index called the S&P 500, which is the top 500 largest US companies. And as a passive investor, let's say you have $100, you're going to invest this $100 in all 500 of these companies all at once. And the best way to do this is through a financial product called an exchange-traded fund, also known as an ETF. And so think of an ETF as just like another product that you would buy on Amazon. An ETF is a product created by a fund company. And ETFs track stock market indexes. So let's say this ETF is worth, let's say $100. If you were to buy this ETF that tracks the S&P 500, you would be investing your money in all 500 of these companies. The benefit of this is that if one of those 500 companies goes bankrupt or loses a lot of money, that doesn't really matter to you because your money is diversified and spread out between all of these different companies. On the flip side of things, because you're invested in so many different companies, there's going to be some companies that are not the greatest companies in that 500 mix. But the main strategy as a passive investor is that they want to match the market performance. So if you take a long-term view of the entire stock market from its first inception, the stock market has an average annual rate of return of about 7 to 8%. And so as a passive investor, your goal is to be able to match the market performance. So you can expect approximately a 7 to 8% average rate of return as a passive investor. The time required to implement a passive investing strategy is only about 1 hour per month. And so for 25% of my stock investment portfolio, I use a passive investing strategy. And so if you're just getting started with investing, passive investing is a really great strategy to get started with so that you can start to get comfortable with investing. For my clients who just get started with investing, I always teach them passive investing first because it's the easiest to get started and it's a lot less riskier than the other strategies. If you want me to do a tutorial about how to actually invest your money using a passive investing strategy, feel free to let me know in the comments, and if enough of you guys want it, then I'll make sure to do that video. So the second stock investment strategy is a dividend investing strategy. And so if you don't know what a dividend is essentially cash that you receive from owning a certain stock. For example, let's say you own 1 share of Apple, which is worth $100. If Apple has a dividend yield of about 5%, that means you're going to get $50 every single year in cash. Just think of dividends as a little incentive for investors in order to own certain stocks. And so the investments that I buy using a dividend investing strategy is individual stocks, specifically dividend aristocrats. And what dividend aristocrats are certain companies that always distribute a dividend regardless of the company's performance. And ever since the inception of that company, they've been distributing annual or quarterly dividend without fail. Dividend aristocrat companies are typically larger companies. And a lot of these larger companies are essential services, which means that it's very unlikely that this company would ever go bankrupt. You see, when people think about investing, they want to invest in the sexy tech stock companies and the companies that are growing super fast. But the most sustainable investing strategy is just investing in the most boring, essential companies there are. Companies like Bumble or Snapchat might be popular today, but in a few years, they might not even exist anymore. And so that's the reason why you want to invest in companies like energy, in financial services, in healthcare, because these are essential companies. And so with a dividend investing strategy, you can assume about a 10% annual rate of return per year. But the thing is that it requires a higher skill level. In order to choose individual stocks, you need to be able to evaluate their financial statements to see if you would want to invest in that company. And so the estimated time in order to implement the strategy is about 2 hours per month. And about 25% of my six-figure investment portfolio is using a dividend investing strategy. So the last stock investing strategy is a stock option strategy. Now this is the hardest strategy in order to implement, and it's also the riskiest. So if you're just getting started with investing, I would probably stick with passive investing first. And as you get more comfortable with that, you can do dividend investing and then a stock options trading strategy. With this strategy, you are entering into a contract to either buy or sell a stock. And in return, in going into this contract, you receive a commission. For example, let's say Apple is currently $100 per share. And let's say you want to go into a stock options contract. And so an example of this contract is that within the month, if Apple drops to $90 per share, you now need to buy 100 shares of Apple. But in return, in going into this contract, you're going to receive $100 commission. And so there's two scenarios that can happen. Scenario A is that Apple drops to below $90 per share. And so in this case, you're obligated by the contract to buy 100 shares of Apple at $90. But you still get to keep your $100 commission. Scenario B is that by the end of the month, Apple's share price doesn't go below $90 per share. And so what ends up happening is that you just get to keep that $100. And so the benefit of this strategy is that you're able to buy stocks at a lower price, but at the same time, still guarantee a commission. The drawbacks and risk of this strategy is that if Apple's share price drops, let's say to $70 per share, you still have to buy Apple at $90 per share. And so that's the reason why you have to be very careful with implementing a stock option strategy. There are so many people I know that lost so much money by implementing this strategy. And so it's important that you know what you're doing. Also, this explanation of a stock option strategy is really simplified so that you guys can understand the concept of stock options trading. But it's actually quite complicated, and it took me a really long time in order to grasp this. I actually had to hire an investing coach in order to teach me this strategy. But the average return that you can expect from this strategy is about a 1 to 4% return per month. And so about 50% of my stock investment portfolio uses a stock option strategy. And so as you can see, this strategy has a lot more risk and requires a much higher skill level. But in return, you're able to get a much higher rate of return than from the other investing strategy. And that's the reason why investing is a skill. If you're a beginner, you're going to get beginner results and you might lose money. But if you're an expert, you're going to get expert results and you're going to make lots of money. A lot of people say that investing is risky, but investing is only risky if you don't know what you're doing. If you know exactly how to invest your money for your unique financial situation, then investing is not risky at all. It's like swimming in the ocean. If you're a beginner swimmer and you're trying to swim in the ocean, that's really risky. But if you're an expert swimmer and you know how to swim, that's not risky at all. And so these are the three main stock investing strategies that you can start to implement. passive investing, dividend investing, and stock options trading. And which strategy you choose really depends on your skill level. Which strategy do you think that you can successfully implement based on your current skill level? And if you're someone who feels really overwhelmed and intimidated when it comes to investing, that probably just means that you haven't cultivated the skill of investing. And if this is you, then I encourage you to come join my private coaching program where I've helped over 50 clients learn how to effectively invest their own money and make lots of money. And so to apply to work with me, shoot me a DM on my Instagram at Michael Lee Kim or go to michaelleekim.com/coaching. If you guys have any questions about these 3 investing strategies that we talked about today, then feel free to let me know in the comments below and I'll be sure to answer your question. And if you want to see how I was able to build a 6-figure investment portfolio in less than 2 years, then make sure to check out this video right over here. That's it for today, guys, and have a great rest of your day.